So Old is M. Night Shyamalan's newest movie that just hit theaters. This is another M. Night Shyamalan movie where it kind of trails on either being a psychological thriller or an also suspense movie. That's something I really appreciate about M. Night's projects, and this movie kind of continues with that formula. However, I'm going to cut right to the chase. I think this movie was bad, unfortunately. I say with a really heavy heart because I was really looking forward to this being a really great movie. My anticipation was really high. The trailers were good, but unfortunately, the movie did not live up to the hype. Old is basically about this family who's going on vacation to this resort. One of the managers of the resort one morning comes over and says, hey, we've got this great spot that you guys will want to check out. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I'll arrange for you guys to go and see it. They get to this beach. Everyone finds out they're aging really quickly, and they're trying to figure out what's going on, and we have our movie. First, also with what I did not like about this movie. The main thing that dragged this movie down was a combination of the dialogue and the performances. First, I'll start off with the dialogue. The dialogue was just really, really weak for a majority of the movie. I don't think it was about halfway through the movie until I actually really enjoyed hearing what the characters had to say. I think really where it faltered was the fact that it did this whole aspect of telling us rather than showing us. I think in movies it's a lot more effective to show us something that's happening in the background rather than just telling us outright. It builds intrigue by just kind of showing us slowly over time rather than just telling us outright. It kind of just, it spoils the surprise, I guess, right away, and it's something that really dragged the movie down frequently. One example I'll give, this isn't a spoiler, but one of the main characters in this movie basically throws out some of these statistics really early on, like these really random statistics, and you're kind of thinking, how would this random dad know all these statistics? And they don't really reveal to you till halfway through the movie, and they just reveal it at the snap of a finger like that, why he knows all of it. And it just, it could have just been executed a lot in a lot more creative of a fashion. Not only that, but then when you couple bad dialogue with really bad performances, it does not bode well for the movie as a whole. In movies, I think you can get away with poor dialogue but really good acting to back it up because of the fact that performances can kind of help bring the best out of dialogue. But in this case, when you've got it bad on both ends, it just makes for a really poor overall experience. And I think that's the biggest shame about this movie, is there was just nobody that really stood out as having a really keen performance and getting the best out of the dialogue that they possibly could. Granted, the dialogue wasn't very great, so they weren't given much to work with, but still. The thing I didn't really enjoy about this movie is it's clearly marketed as like a thriller slash horror kind of film, but in its execution, I think everybody in the movie that I saw it in laughed more than they were terrified of anything. Some of the things that happen in this movie are so absurd and outlandish. You can't help but really laugh. I mean, in some of the CGI moments that they use, it was so ridiculous that it was laughable. Some of the dialogue, like I started counting how many times the audience would laugh in my theater, and it was between 5 and 8 times. Some of just a combination of the performances, some of the concepts, and also the dialogue just made for some very absurd moments that it just made the movie kind of funny in parts rather than taking it seriously as a psychological thriller slash horror film. Lastly, there are some intriguing concepts that I think that they try to introduce and explain throughout the movie, and they go through it and explain it so fast that you don't quite catch exactly what's really happening. So it's like even the most intriguing parts of the movie, you don't really get a whole ton of closure on, unfortunately. Further adds to that dialogue problem of not really building any intrigue. However, let me kind of switch gears here. What did I enjoy about this movie? I would say the last eighth of this movie was actually pretty enjoyable. When you start getting to the resolution of the movie and you start kind of uncovering what's really going on behind the scenes, it made for a really interesting time. But the fact of the matter is, if only 1/8 of the movie is enjoyable and it's the last eighth, it's really hard to recommend going and seeing this movie. And on top of that, ironically enough, M. Night Shyamalan's performance was probably the best one. He plays one of the resort employees, and we actually get quite a bit of him in this film. I'm not going to say like an absurd amount, it's probably only like 10%, but when he's on screen, it's actually really, really enjoyable. Performance was probably the best out of the entire cast. But other than that, unfortunately, there wasn't really a whole ton I enjoyed about this movie. One of the toughest things I think to nail down about this movie is obviously one of the concepts that we can see from trailers is that these people are aging very, very quickly at a rapid pace. One of the challenges for all the actors that are portraying the kids throughout this movie, trying to act like a very, very young child despite no matter how old you're getting. And I think the movie's actors really stick with that up until about 3/4 of the way into the movie. And then for the last quarter of the movie, it's like they don't act like 6-year-olds anymore. They act like whatever age they actually are, which kind of takes out of the experience. When you don't get that much time to age, despite your physical appearance changing, your mannerisms, your demeanor probably wouldn't change that much in that short of a time span. that progression wasn't really consistent throughout the movie. So my friends, overall, I'm gonna have to give this score a 4 out of 10. It was a bad movie, unfortunately, and I don't say that with any pleasure. I was really looking forward to seeing this movie, and I was hoping M. Night would have an excellent directorial outing for this one. A combination of poor dialogue and poor performances just really dragged down the movie. The fact that the movie doesn't really get at least enjoyable to the last eighth. Concepts introduced in that last eighth are intriguing and somewhat interesting, and I think could have boded very well for the movie, but at the end of the day, the concepts that they did explore just weren't really explained all that well either. The movie wasn't all that great, so I would say probably skip this one at the theaters. But my friends, that's just one person's opinion. I want to know what you think. Did you see Old in theaters? If so, what'd you think of it? Whatever you thought, you know where the comment section is. Let me know. All right, my friends, thanks so much for watching another review. Like, comment, and subscribe to get in on the fun and watch more excellent videos. This has been the Bankrupt Hippo YouTube channel. I've been Bryson. Until next time, have a great day.